Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your weekly. You guys were the first cab off the rank this week for most views. So you get your weekly reading done first. So this is for week beginning April 27th. In the description box below, you'll find a little bit more information about my work with Indigo Ascension. And this channel is essentially targeted at empaths, intuitives and sensitives, or those who are on the awakening path. Okay, so a bit more information on my website about the work I do as an intuitive energy healer. Hopefully the reading resonates. If it does, would love a like, comment and subscribe. I'm going to be doing free weekly in next week's weekly readings. I'll be launching giveaways. Okay, so free readings, but you have to comment to be involved. So more on that next week. But let's check a theme for you, Sagittarius, as we close off this interesting month of April. Now listen, over the next 2 weeks, we are going to be experiencing 4 planets in retrograde. There's going to be quite a lot of information I'll be sharing across the month of April about what that will mean. So I'll probably do a couple of videos on those retrogrades. It does affect all of us, okay? But obviously the zodiacs where those retrogrades will be occurring too. So essentially when a planet goes into retrograde, we go deeper, all right? It's really subconscious stuff. Stuff gets illuminated, and when I say stuff, I don't say that lightly. It can be quite deep, it can be quite illuminating, shocking, truths get revealed. We go back to the blueprint, back to where we originally learned patterning, behaviors, beliefs, you know? It's about seeing how far we have come. Yeah, that is perhaps the greatest gift, but it's also this decision point, which is super empowering when it comes to choice and free will. In many ways, subconsciously, we are so navigated by the external approval, acceptance, what society does, what family does, what culture does, before we even determine our own path as adults, you know. Retrograde seasons are interesting. Now this will pretty much stand until the rest of the year, up until October, into January next year. So big stuff. But this is the invitation to authenticity. Okay, as a society, you could say perhaps we're so used to repressing everything, our deeper truths, beliefs, emotions, you know, all of which makes us so multidimensional. And it's not until we explore all aspects of ourselves do we truly get to know ourselves and what balance essentially means for us. So retrogrades are such a powerful invitation to self. Not many are brave enough to truly navigate them to their depths. Because it is, you know, it's so much easier just to do life, just to be, just to pretend, just to put on a mask and play by society's rules. So that's the challenge for the collective in the coming months. Okay, let's take a look at your weekly theme is rest. You know, I did notice in the last week a massive shift in the collective energy whereby, you know, as a sensitive, obviously when I go out there and into the greater public, I feel it. I feel the hectic energy. I could feel the intense amount of fear energy permeating. But I do want to say there's been a distinct 2 waves, 2 vibes, two levels of energy that's been permeating since last June. You can call that 3D and 5D, you can call that whatever you like. On a practical level, it's no different to jumping in your car and knowing that you have access to all different radio stations. Those are your energy frequencies that you can access at any point during the day and decide which ones you want to tune into, absorb, be a part of, vibrate with. Okay, you are resting and retreating. Perhaps you've taken on board a lot. Perhaps this is the week where you recalibrate and really decide for yourself what you've learned in this last week, last month. What this whole collective experience that we're all under has meant for you. Maybe you are resting and retreating in connection, you know, and connection to self is perhaps the most important relationship we all have. Time for rest, okay? On very practical levels, when the rest card shows up, it's wanting to get away from the fray. And I know that sounds almost humorous because we are in lockdown. What are we going to get away from? Maybe our children. You're needing a break from your routine, even though your routine has probably been a bit of a break from your usual. This week, perhaps you find yourself retreating into self, resting, rejuvenating, whatever that means for you. Recalibrating your energy, finding the peace within, connecting to what and who brings you peace. Some beautiful high frequency dolphin energy here. Yeah, to me, I look at this card and it feels like dream state. It feels like the ideal. This is the invitation into 5D elements even when I look at this. Whatever that means for you, okay? Time for rest. Let's see what the tarot wants to say. 3 of Swords and 7 of Pentacles. You're in this rest mode. You're really going over old ground when it comes to heartbreak, okay? Maybe there was a conversation, maybe there will be a conversation this week where all masks are off. You're getting authentic with yourself in your review of the journey to date. I do want to say that if this is in relation to a relationship, it's one that has ultimately you thought was something that you could drive towards. You're wanting some higher ground, higher connection, higher resonance, but perhaps did not get because of conflict. Now that can apply to anything, intimate, friendship or otherwise. I do want to say in very many ways you are reviewing, and what I was saying about the retrogrades earlier is specific and is probably relevant here. You're reviewing the role heartbreak has played in your life. You're processing, in this rest and retreat mode. You're retreating from heartbreak. You're reviewing the role heartbreak has played in your life and how it's ultimately influenced you, perhaps. What has been gained, what has grown because of it. And regardless of who we are, Sagittarius, we start our lives as an open heart, an open light, if you like, so full of trust and willing to just unequivocally be invulnerable, like we can look at the word vulnerable as a weakness. However, if you think of the nature of a child, they are so open-hearted and trusting to the point that the slings and arrows of life just really go through them. They have no preformed concept of what a disappointment or a betrayal is. They have no preformed concept of hurt. They're very essentially in survival mode. Sorry, that's the wrong terminology. Their needs are very simple. I'll cry and hopefully I'll get fed. I'll cry and hopefully there'll be human contact to comfort me. And anything outside of that simply is a product of the mind, perhaps, when we look at it from a spiritual perspective. So in many ways, you're reviewing the journey to date, tangible evidence of what you have grown out of heartbreak. And that can go either side of the coin, okay? When we're living through our trauma, when we're living as a product of fear, when we're living as a product of betrayal and heartbreak, it's very natural for us Sagittarius to create continued environments that sustain that deeper truth, that we hold ourselves back from opportunity, we hold ourselves back from love because we are so open, so afraid to open to it. So this is a very much a review period of how much of an impact heartbreak has played in your life, in your path. And this could also definitely point to reviewing recent heartbreak, because I feel like there was something here you did not take. There was a cup of love, also an opportunity being offered to you. So apply that analogy of heartbreak in any way that fits to your circumstances. It could be when you were betrayed, you were disappointed, let down, career or otherwise, okay, family. There's an invitation here. Underneath all this, there's an invitation here. And there's definitely communications around it. Life is inviting you to move forward in one way or another. Okay? What I feel I'm speaking to Sagittarius is they moved away. On every fibre of their being, they moved away from an opportunity. And that's all well and good. Sometimes there is no resonance, sometimes an opportunity. You know, I feel like you're following your intuition. And maybe this week you're perhaps reviewing those choices you've made in life, love, career. And you're asking yourself, how much was I influenced by my genuine deeper knowing and higher wisdom? And how much was I influenced by heartbreak? Because in the recent past, there was quite a lot of conflict. This is not my circus, not my monkeys. You know, this can also point to inner conflict. Feeling very conflicted. Do I follow my gut? Do I move forward? Do I stay? Am I staying because I don't want to be heartbroken and alone? Am I making this choice because I'm making a choice out of fear? You know, I feel like there's been conversations here for you this week when the Page of Wands shows up. An idea, a thought has been sparked. You know, in this rest and review mode, you're reviewing your journey. It actually feels quite deep, Saggy. You, above all, are wanting a new beginning when it comes to the relationship you have with yourself. This rest and review has been vital, is vital, in order for you to remove yourself from conflict, even if that conflict is within us. And it's a conflict between our heart and our head, our ego and our soul, okay? This rest and review is essential because this lesson, this wisdom that you've gained from this experience, this healing, and I'll explain that a little bit more, has been about you coming back into yourself. Now, this, you know, the Three of Pentacles is a new beginning, something I want to invest in. And what you're actually, on deeper levels, what you're wanting to invest in is this version of you that you perhaps haven't allowed to be seen, shown, or have an experience for a very long time. You know, the Queen of Wands, she is on fire. She's the divine fire personified now. Confidence, genuine, authentic. I know who I am, I know what I want, and I know what does and does not resonate. And in many ways, our ego gets in the way and we make choices based out of our traumas, our fears, our ego. But there's a spiritual healing here that has been asking you, and I feel like this might even be something that's been developing strongly in your awareness over the last 4 days, 5 weeks even. This could be a 3-year story for you, Sagittarius, all right? So all of those time markers are relevant. Now, in the crossroads of life, we're always asked, do we go with our heart? Do we go with our deeper intuition, even if that does go against what society would like us to do, what our family expect us to do? Am I making choices based on fear? Do I say yes to this love because there may not be another? Do I say yes because it ticks a few boxes but not all of them? Do I say yes to this career because it's practical and it is an awesome salary and I'd be crazy not to? Well, define crazy. Define the shoulds and can'ts. Define you. That's what this is about. Okay, this rest and retreat mode is essential so that you can ultimately get back to a new beginning with yourself. This retrograde period is perhaps going to be quite significant for you in the sense of whatever that means for you. The Temperance card. This is Sagittarius card as well. You know, this is spiritual healing. This is spiritually healing your core essence, your core self, going back to the blueprint and reviewing how much heartbreak has influenced you. And have you suppressed that? These retrogrades will bring them to the surface. And it's not about looking at our life with rose-colored glasses. Yes, we can. We can see the beautiful gifts of love. We can see the beautiful gifts of love that we've denied. because there's an apology here, whether you or another, whether you're apologizing to your old self for not remembering her, whether you're apologizing to another, whether someone is apologizing to you, there's an apology here. And you know what, deeper still, there's a timeline reset. When you get back to the blueprint, there is perhaps no need for regret, remorse, or apologies. And I'm not saying that lightly when it's in relation to self, okay? Because this is very much about you, Saggy. This is very much about the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with yourself when it comes to opening to trust, to love, to taking a risk, to being your authentic self. Authenticity is a huge lesson for the collective in the last 2 years. There's an apology here. So what is it that you are sorry for? I'm going to use as a metaphor. And who are you sorry to? Sure, like I said, perhaps there is a conversation that will be happening, either your end or someone else's end. But are you living in remorse to the point that you are holding yourself back so much so that this is your deciding voice, guide over this? This is the Three of Swords. This is the High Priestess, your higher wisdom. Yeah, something to think about this week, my dear Saggies. There's a couple of pages here, so a couple of children involved. Perhaps that might be relevant for you, but it's also that youthful approach. You know, this Three of Pentacles is inviting you to a new beginning, a new start in the relationship you have with yourself, which forms the essence of the energy connection to any relationship we have with anybody. Okay? There's a new beginning here. And the 2 pages, but despite forming or representing rather children, they also represent youthful energy. So it's, if you're feeling stagnated, if you're feeling weighed down by whatever felt like conflict, whatever felt like betrayal, whatever felt like heartbreak, or not being your authentic self, because when the Three of Swords shows up in your primary reading, this is all masks are off. It is game time. It is time for authentic expression of self. Seeing how our thoughts have really navigated, because when we're ruled by the swords, that's the realms of thought. Have they been of value? Have they grown a garden? Have they been of practical, tangible value to you, you know? Even the darkest gifts are wisdom teachers, you know, they cross our paths for a reason. They are our soul teachers. I've talked about the 2 pages, you know, because this is a very big love focus, the 10 of Cups. What is your emotional fulfillment? And in order to truly get emotionally fulfilled, we have to let go of being navigated by the mind, being navigated by heartbreak, being navigated by trauma. And I know it's so easy to say that on the outside, but this is essentially the journey. As a society, we've been conditioned to repress our emotions. Yeah, it's not natural for us. And as a Sagittarius, the easiest way for you to get out of your head into your heart is through the divine fire, through passion, creativity. What sparks you? Who and what lights the fire that reminds you of who you are? And that could be anything, a hobby, a person, a connection, a vision, a dream. You, in order to feel balanced, in order to feel emotionally fulfilled, you need to spark that creative fire from those lower chakras. Okay, because this is about emotional fulfillment for you. The Lovers, Holy Dewey, head and heart decision, everything that I said previously. There's definitely some review time here as you are reviewing what this means for you. Everything you've learned in the past has gifted you with something to help you define what this means for you. There's a key relationship here. Look, I'm not even going to say that it's the one, but it is marriage material. It is emotional fulfillment. You know, Gemini's here, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio's here. Earth signs are here. This is the Ace of Pentacles. This is the marriage card. I feel like I'm speaking to Sagittarius. Ace of Wands, holy dooly. Okay, I'm definite Three of Cups. And the Tower. A new beginning with the Three of Wands, Queen of Pentacles. Okay, stop it, Ali. Here, Saggy, I'm going to tell you what's been going down. Whether you have recently come out of a connection, whether you are looking for a connection, whether someone has sparked your interest and you have retreated, whether you have turned down a connection, this energy conjunction has forced you into review mode, into where to from here. You are reviewing the path to date and how much life and love has taught you, how much you've been shown. You know, intimacy is modeled to us by our primary teachers, our parents, or the caregivers that were there at the time. This is about you just wiping that emotional slate clean. From a heart level, it's so easy for us to not listen to our heart when we're so used to be driven by fire, when we're so used to being grown in a society that teaches us to be logical and practical. And you can even apply that in spiritual principles, okay? The divine has to give me a sign. We have to spiritually match. It is about all elements. This is a connection. There is a connection here that is a divine counterpart per se. That can be, that will be, whether this connection exists already and you've either pushed it away, whether you are now manifesting and calling that in after this review period. This review period is essential. It's important for you to get to the basis of what it is you have learned, how you have grown your heart, how you have grown your concept of intimacy and connection. You're ready to settle down. There's been an awakening here. And I'm going to say by the time you celebrate your next birthday, there is a formation. I am so excited to find out what next week's episode reveals for you. This is very exciting. But first, rest and review, get authentic with yourself, get real with yourself about how much you've been shaped and formed by trauma, disappointment, betrayal. What you were taught by love is not necessarily right. There's wisdom in everything, but now it's time for you to decide what's right for you. And I hope you choose it. I'll see you next week.